everyone. So on this stream, oh thank you Frankie, I am going to be continuing to read the book that I have been reading on my channel thus far, and it's called The Atlantean Conspiracy. And I just want to say, as like a precursor to this, I'm reading this book not because I agree with everything in the book, but because I think it's a very interesting topic, and I think some of it has merit, and I think we as a society just need to be a little bit better at being able to like look at information and decide whether or not we agree with it or not, and be able to discuss that in like a reasonable way. So I'm going to read it. Feel free to put your opinions and comments and questions in the comment section. I'll do my best to answer them as we go along here. And just so you know, I'm not starting the book from the beginning because I've already read a lot of it so far. If you would like to go back and watch what I have already read, that is going to be posted on my YouTube channel. It's the same name as my Likey username, Kumquat Kelly, so feel free to subscribe there. And I also have like vlogs and other stuff there too. So I'm going to just jump in here. Feel free to comment as we go along, okay? Alright, so this subheading is Big Brother Surveillance Society. There are over 30 million closed-circuit television cameras in America, recording 24/7, catching the average citizen on film nearly 200 times daily. Every American has a 9-digit government Social Security assigned to them at birth. Social Security number assigned to them at birth. We require government licenses to drive, to get married, and have pets, government passports to travel, and corporate credit cards to book tickets, make reservations, and shop online. Our phone lines are tapped and our emails are compiled and saved. Intelligence agencies and corporations share and maintain huge databases full of information on every citizen. The government, corporate, and media interests have all meddled into one cohesive unit, propagating the official version of reality through every newspaper and TV set. This is a quote from Alex Jones. One cartoon featuring the character Buzz Lightyear recently ran an episode where a delivery was being made to the superhero's home by a futuristic mailman. In this cartoon, the delivery man used not only a retinal scan, but also DNA to verify the identity of the recipient. If we were to show you all the evidence in children's cartoons and media of face scanning, thumb scanning, national ID cards, and the overall police state, this book would be 500 pages long. End quote. Oh, sure. Oh, thanks, guys. Appreciate your support. Yes, I will follow you back. 1 second. There you go. All right. Jumping back in here. They are already training our children to be prisoners. Schools are already filled with CCTV cameras, metal detectors, and special police security guards. Now students are being forced to show IDs or use thumb scanners to receive lunch, and many schools have outlawed backpacks and all non-see-through bags. On top of this, there are increasing reports of the police security guards harassing and assaulting innocent students. In September 2007, a 16-year-old girl had her arm broken and was arrested after refusing to clean up a dropped piece of cake. 2 other students who filmed the incident on their phones were then tackled and arrested, one of them spending over a week in jail for simply daring to do so. Then the student's mother was charged with assault when brushing past the principal to find her daughter after 20 minutes of waiting. The mother, a teacher at another district, was suspended for 2 weeks without pay. Security officer was suspended for 2 weeks without pay. I'll shuffle you back. Oh, I already did that, sorry. That was a brand new one. Okay, so we have a quote here, and it's from Alex Jones, one more. It says, Washington, D.C. has already implemented a card, which is held with the CIA and the National Security Agency, for all children. It contains all kinds of biometric information, face scans, thumbprints, you name it. Washington Post, August 15, 2001. D.C. plans ID cards for students. If the children want their school lunches, they have to thumb scan to get them. No thumb scan, no food. All this trains the children for the cashless society and gets them into the database. Think about it. Thumb scanning in government schools to get food. You would expect to read about something like this in Aldous Huxley's Brave New World or George Orwell's 1984, but it's actually happening. and it's only the beginning. It's not just children who are being conditioned. Adults are biometrically scanning to bank, and not just bank, but to get their lunches too, at Kroger and H-E-B food stores from Texas to New York, end quote. What's my Instagram? It is at @kumquatkelly, so just like my name, it's just without the space. Now the surveillance society is getting even more intrusive and more technological. Stoplight cameras are catching offenders and sending out fines without a human being involved. Biometrics, retina scanners, and thumbprint reading technology are becoming the norm in amusement parks, schools, banks, and grocery stores. Last but not least, radio frequency identification chips, or ID, are being implanted in pets, children, prisoners, and Alzheimer's patients. New laws are being created to force these microchips into licenses, passports, and corporate products. The New World Order end goal is shipping every baby at birth and transferring global currency to a cashless credit-based system managed via microchips. They implement their agenda incrementally. However, they walk the totalitarian tiptoe, as David Icke says, so we do not consciously notice the gradual erosion of our rights or privacy. Oh, thanks, Powerhouse Strauss. Guys, if you're just joining the stream right now, I am reading from the Atlantean Conspiracy, and I wanted to comment about this section where they talk about the microchips. I'm here in San Diego area, and within the next year, all Californias are going to have to be required to get this extra card. And the thing is, what's stupid is that you cannot travel without this card. This is not a free card. You have to pay for this card. But even if you have a passport, you also need this card. And in this ID card, you can use it for your driver's license, but you can't get on a plane without one, even if you have a passport. And there's a microchip in it. So if you go to any kind of government location, anything like that, you are being recorded. And the thing, here's my issue with this, is if you are someone with malintent, you're going to do a crime, are you going to be bringing a chipped ID anywhere you go? No, you are not. So really what you are you're just tracking the normal civilian who, so you know exactly where they are driving to on a daily basis. Things like that, I just don't see what the value of doing this is, except for to infringe on our privacy. That's my belief. Okay, we're going to continue reading. Now this is a quote from U.S. President James Madison. Quote, "I believe there are more instances of the abridgment of the freedom of the people by gradual and silent encroachments of those in power than by violent and sudden usurpations." End quote. Next quote, this is by Alex Christopher from Pandora's Box. He says, "The people in control of everything that is happening in your world now have identification microchips. They are inserted into the human body with a hypodermic needle, as small as the hypodermic needles used for insulin injection, which are 29 gauge. And for those of you that are not familiar with medical terminology, that is so tiny that you could be injected with the needle and never feel it. You have to understand that the technology is so sophisticated that they have managed to create a complete, full capability computer and power generator down to the size of a single human cell, and inject them into the human body in places like the top side of the hand, forehead, shoulder, and their favorite places behind the right ear. I believe these chips are part of the mark of the beast that is talked about in Revelation 13, 15 through 17. Among these microchips is one that is for the transcending of data, which includes such items as follow. 1. Name and picture. 2. Social security number. 3. Fingerprint data. 4. Physical description. 5. Address. 6. Family history. 7. Occupation and income. 8. Tax information. 9. Criminal record. End quote. Oh, hi, DJ Shaggy. Hey. Guys, if you're just coming in right now, I'm reading from the book, The Atlantean Conspiracy. Okay, so here we have another quote, and it is from Nick Rockefeller, as quoted in Aaron Russo interview 2005. It says, "The end goal is to get everybody chipped, to control the whole society, to have the bankers and the elite people control the world." Short end quote. Hi, how are you? Oh, I'm doing pretty well. Yeah, just, still quarantined here in California. Yeah, nothing too crazy to report. I'll let you know if that changes. All right, shortly after 9/11, there was a whole family on Good Morning America who all got chipped. They interviewed with CFR member Diane Sawyer, saying that they were scared of the terrorists and felt safer with implanted identification devices. The government is now pushing legislation to chip animals, children, prisoners, and Alzheimer's patients. Andy Rooney even promoted the idea in a 60 Minutes editorial. Quote, "Something has to change, though. They have to find a better way to identify the bad guys, or the rest of us are going to stay home and watch the world go by on television. But we need some system for permanently identifying safe people. Most of us are never going to blow anything up. And there's got to be something better than one of those photo IDs, a tattoo somewhere maybe. The Saudis use an American device to scan the eyes of travelers. I wouldn't mind having something planted permanently in my arm that would identify me. If we don't do something, people are going to stop flying. If they stop flying and I don't go to the Giants game, it means the bastards have won." End quote. No, I don't like this. I don't know about you. Tell me how you feel about this. No, I don't want a synthetic chip in my body. I don't like when people think that, like, humans know the human body better than nature, and they think they can just, like, implant anything in us and that'll be fine and not affect our physiology. Or even the fact that they think that they have the right, because we live within the borders of a certain country, that they can have dominion over your own body. It's really bizarre. Like, I will say, no one on this planet chose to live in the country they were born into. They never chose it. They were just born into that country. And whatever the government they were born into has said, you know what, because you were born within these borders, you have to follow our rules. Regardless of your consent, you have to follow our rules. And it's not like you can opt out. There's no place on this planet you can go where someone does not claim we have control over the sovereignty of your own body. There's no place on this planet. It's really an interesting thing to think about if you haven't already. All right, guys, we're going to continue reading. This is another subheading. It's called FEMA concentration camps. All right. The truth of the matter is that you do have those standby provisions, and the statutory emergency plans are there whereby you could, in the name of stopping terrorism, apprehend, invoke the military, and arrest Americans and hold them in detention camps. End quote. That was U.S. Representative Henry Gonzalez. All right, next quote. Oh no. Did I go too far? I think I did. Hold on, guys. Okay, here we go. So this is a quote from Fritz Springmeier. How am I doing? I'm pretty good. Yeah, nothing crazy to report. Guys, if you're just joining the stream right now, I am reading from the book, The Atlantean Conspiracy. And you can find previous readings of this book, or even future ones, will be on my YouTube channel. It's the same name, Kumquat Callie, so feel free to subscribe to there. We also have vlogs and other fun videos there. All right, so this is a quote from Fritz Springmeier, and it says, "Today, the New World Order has brought in hundreds of thousands of foreign troops into the United States. They have brought in thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, of guillotines for executions. They have built a network of unused concentration camps across the U.S. They have built crematoriums next to these concentration camps, and yet most Americans appear to believe the lies of President Clinton's and others." What? I have never heard this before. I've never heard of this. Yes, I don't. Okay, this is from his book Bloodlines of the Illuminati. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm saying I've never heard this, and I don't have any proof for this. Interesting. We're just gonna leave that there. Move forward. Okay. Since the Reagan administration, REX 84, U.S. Civilian Inmate Labor Program, has been drawn up, implemented, and expanded in many ways. The military and police have been increasingly training together. The military has been running operations like Urban Warrior, fully armed in suburbia. 800 plus FEMA detention centers, or concentration camps, have already been built all over the United States, and Halliburton's engineering subsidiary, KBR, is busy building more. These camps are complete with biometric scanners, barbed wire facing inwards, gas lines and furnaces, helipads, watchtowers, and security cameras. The few journalists who have filmed and reported on these have been observed by black helicopters and even approached and questioned by Secret Servicemen. I don't know what this is. I have no idea what they're talking about. Okay. Here we go. This is another quote from Alex Jones. The civilian inmate labor program was conducted in secret at U.S. military bases from 1989 to 1996. This nightmare program was recently declassified. If civilian inmate labor programs are so wonderful, why did the Army keep them secret for over 7 years? These are thousands of pages of documents there are thousands of pages of documents on the Army's website detailing the massive scope of this program, much of which is still secret. Many of the documents are contradictory. For example, on the same page it will say that the Army is not allowed to house and use state inmate labor, and in the next paragraph will say that they have been housing and using state inmate labor. For years we warned people about FEMA, Federal Emergency Management Agency. The federal documents have been around for decades and include roundup plans and concentration camps. People used to laugh at us when we said this in December of 1999. Then came Seattle. FEMA housed and protected government-placed anarchist provocateurs, but put 500 peaceful demonstrators in a FEMA camp on the outskirts of town. FEMA used the old Sandpoint naval brig to detain hundreds of American citizens. End quote. Oh, thanks, guys. Thank you, Tai. All right, so this is a quote from David Icke. It says, FEMA can force the population to live and work wherever they are told. People can be moved from their homes and have their property seized, including farms and businesses. Their children can be taken away from them, and FEMA has the power to take over all communications, food and energy sources, healthcare, finance, education, welfare, and transportation, including your personal vehicles. The Postmaster General can order that all men, women, and children are registered. It is also FEMA that controls the network of concentration camps or detention centers in the United States that are in place and waiting for the dissidents and troublemakers when the Illuminati fascist takeover is complete. Yes, concentration camps in America. End quote. In the past few decades, the militarization of the American police has become a noticeable reality as soldiers and police cadets increasingly train together. Paramilitary units, unheard of 40 years ago, are now the norm in over 90% of all police forces, and the frequency percent in the past decade. It's a very topical thing for right now. All right, next quote. This is from Alex Jones. It says, I'm in Northern California, in Oakland, where Marines have come in for Operation Urban Warrior. Should be deemed Operation desensitization of the population. They hire hundreds of role players to beg and scream, "We're Americans, please don't put us in camps, don't take our guns." The loudspeakers blare as women and children are led handcuffed to the interrogation center of the camp. Quote, attention, attention, attention. Due to the large number of people arriving, you will experience a short delay. Please remain calm and cooperative so that we can process you into the camp faster. End quote. In my film Police State 2000, we have footage of Marines backed up by local police ordering a man with a camera to stop filming and to turn his camera off. There are two questions here. One, what is it that they have to hide? Two, why are Marines engaging in law enforcement activities that violate the First Amendment? End quote. Next quote. This is a quote from Alex Jones once more. Across the country, SWAT teams are putting the finishing touches on our new prison-style schools by conditioning our kids with mock terrorist school shooting attacks. SWAT teams' so-called anti-terror drills at schools are really just conditioning exercises that are part of federally funded FEMA programs to condition the children that it's completely normal to have men dressed up like executioners screaming at them, taking over their schools without warrants and ordering them with their hands behind their heads onto buses where they are taken to undisclosed locations. Men in black uniforms yell and scream and throw profanities at them. as they beg and cry and plead. They are then loaded on buses and taken to a local jail where they are dragged around like filth and treated like criminals. A whole generation is learning how to be slaves, learning how to bow down and beg, to put their hands behind their heads when the ring raves, the dark lords appear. And many of these children died at the hands of SWAT teams. SWAT teams are notoriously trigger happy and frequently shoot their own officers. Take Fort Worth, Texas, where the cop of the year was shot in the head by one of his comrades at a SWAT team drill at a school. In Detroit, they shot a kid in the face in one of these so-called drills, end quote. Oh, sure, you can get a follow back. Here you go. All right, next section. The Secret Society Network. This is a quote from A.E. Waite. Beneath the broad tide of human history, there flow the stealthy undercurrents of the secret societies, which frequently determine in the depths of the changes that take place upon the surface, end quote. Oh, thanks, Elizabeth. The largest mechanism used by the bloodlines to implement the New World agenda is the global secret society network. Politicians, bankers, businessmen, and media personalities, the biggest names in history and world affairs, form a huge secret society matrix. This hierarchical pyramid-structured network is constantly recruiting and placing members in key influential positions. In order to orchestrate global events and policy decisions from behind the scenes, many niche secret societies groom and position politicians, media personalities, and other yes-men so they may best aid the great work. Okay, we have another quote, and this is by radio talk show host Rush Limbaugh. You see, if you amount to anything in Washington these days, it is because you have been plucked or handpicked from an Ivy League school. Harvard, Yale, Kennedy School of Government. You've shown an aptitude to be a good Ivy League type. And so you're plucked, so to speak, and you are assigned success. You are assigned a certain role in government somewhere, and then your success is monitored and tracked, and you go where the pluckers and the handpickers can put you, end quote. Elizabeth says, how am I doing? I'm doing pretty good. Yeah, I mean, here in California, we are still under lockdown a bit. Things are opening up just a little bit, but with the recent reports of more cases of coronavirus, it's only a matter of time, I'm sure, until we're back in lockdown. So, yeah, there is that. All right, so world leaders are made offers they cannot refuse, bribed, even blackmailed, or otherwise recruited and sworn into these secret societies. Then often under blood oaths, to which they remain loyal, these brotherhood initiates follow orders throughout their terms in office. In this way, the electorate constantly changes, giving the illusion of discontinuity of leadership, when in fact each successive leader coincidentally belongs to the same secret societies. A few of the more influential ones include the Freemasons, the Illuminati, Bohemian Grove, Skull and Bones, CFR, RIIA, Bilderberg Group, and the Trilateral Commission. I do want to say one thing. If this is like becoming like very far-fetched and you're like, I'm not sure that I can really hop on board with this, I do recommend looking up the documentary Out of the Shadows, okay? This is a very good documentary that talks about some of these societies working in Hollywood. It touches a little bit on pedophilia, and it's a great documentary that is full of primary sources. Oh, thanks, Raphael. And so I recommend looking into it. I recommend looking into Pizzagate. And yeah, I mean, regardless of your own politics, I don't think we can ignore primary sources, you know? I think oftentimes there are narratives, you know, being connected to, you know, certain pieces of information, and it's used for one side of the aisle or the other. But the primary sources are something that can usually be trusted. I mean, if you read, you know, some of, if you guys are familiar with like Pizzagate and some of those emails that were taken from one of Hillary Clinton's like top, I don't know if his name was like, he wasn't like her advisor, he was like someone in her office, and you look at like some of the, just like if you look at some of like the actual sentences from those emails, pizza is known in like pedophilia rings as like trafficked children. You know, that's a name that that's a word that many officers know to be used in these circles. And they the way some of these words are used, they could not be used in any other sense of the world, in the word. Like, oh, we're going to bring some pizza to come entertain the boys here at this, this pool party. Oh, thanks, Raphael. Or things like this. Or it's like, I heard this government party spent $60,000 on pizza for the guests. Or, it's just like, it's nice to meet you too, Raphael. So I recommend looking into that documentary. It's very good. I can't recommend it enough. Okay. And it kind of gives a little bit more like evidence for some of the things that they're talking about here if it seems a little far-fetched to you. All right. Another quote, and this is from Paul Joseph Watson. It says, "A disturbing majority of the House and Senate representatives hold membership to elite organizations publicly sworn to destroying America in favor of a globalist one world order system. This trend ranges from the now public U.S.-centered Council on Foreign Relations through the Trilateral Commission to the quasi-secret internationalist Bilderberg Group. At the end of the spectrum, we even see occult influences like Skull and Bones, along with the Freemasons. The justification for a zealously ordered one-world government is chaos. Terrorism is the premier method for fomenting this chaos," end quote. And I do want to, what's my name? My name is Kelly. I do want to talk about a little bit for a second this one world government, because I know a lot of people have proposed that a one world government is a great idea, because think about it, if everything is under one control, you don't have these people working against each other, we can regulate resources better, and the thing is that oh, thanks, Raphael, in an ostensible sense, this sounds really good. Yeah, let's share the resources. Let's do all this stuff. The problem I have with this is not that great idea. I mean, in theory, that's what people are attracted to. Oh, bye, I'm Barbara-san. When, people talk about socialism and communists, that's the appeal. Because there's a certain amount of resources, more than enough for everything. Oh, thanks, Raphael. To cover everyone, why not share, Is that when you have a communist or socialist government, all of the power is contracted into a very small group of people. And those people then have the power to really exploit it. And I think people don't realize how many nefarious people are at the top of these organizations, in government, in media, in entertainment. Can I wave? I'm waving. There's a lot of really bad people who are there for selfish reasons, who are many times psychopaths. A lot of psychopaths are attracted to these positions of power, and they get really far. A lot of psychopaths are very intelligent, and they have nefarious plans. I mean, if you watch the movie Vice, you have a great example of Dick Cheney and some of his really psychopathic dealings. They're all over the place on both sides of the aisle. And I think when you get to a place where you have a very small group of people controlling the masses, you will always have people who want to want to exploit those people. Oh, thanks, Raphael. He says he loves my wall. Yeah, so I don't think humans have the capacity to control each other. I think the smaller the government is, the better chance we have of living in an equal world. The more empowered the individual is, the more we push for true morality, the more we can work toward that. But we can't have it by people letting other people decide what's right for them. We can't have our own sovereignty just given to someone else and say, yeah, just control me. Tell me what I have to do. I am 25. So yeah, it's very disturbing to me. And I know I talk about morality, and I think a lot of people today think of morality as a very, relative thing. Like, oh, yeah, I mean, what's moral to me might not be moral to you. I mean, the thing is, though, is that we don't live in a world where we are, on an island. Everything we do affects someone else, and everything they do affects us. Oh, thanks, Raphael. it's just a fact. And so when you look at, I think the most important rule to understand is the non-aggression principle, which is basically do no harm to another sentient being. And with that is also the balance of yourself. So if someone tries to exploit you, to be able to stand firm in your integrity and, it's pleased to know you, DJ, not become a wet noodle. It's that balance. And I know some people, especially around the world, they feel that, there are a lot of religions and they all believe different things. But I think there is a principle, that principle of do no harm is far more common in most religions than we think. I mean, it's the principle of karmic law. It's the law of Christ. It's the 10 Commandments, really. And I know people get really stuck when we talk about religion, about like the minutia, like, oh, I think homosexuality is bad or something like that. Even though those things don't affect anyone else. They don't cause harm to anyone else. And so even if we were to ignore that aspect and just follow that non-aggression principle, if everyone tried their best to do that, or at least the majority of people were acting in that way, we'd live in a peaceful world, a largely peaceful world. Who cares what someone else is doing that doesn't affect you? What's my favorite animal and color? My favorite color is yellow. My favorite animal, it's either the blue whale or an elephant. Can you kiss my foot? I don't think so, Azim. I don't think so. So that's like my little thought there. That's why I don't think a worldwide government is the best idea. I think it is a perfect way to control people and to completely lose all of our freedoms. And here's the back in the day, like when the Constitution, the U.S. Constitution was being written, the Second Amendment came into place, which was basically allowing people to have guns. And the whole idea was to be able to form a militia, if need be, to fight against tyranny, like a tyrannical government. That's how, the American Revolution happened from Britain. It's because the individual civilians had the same kind of weapons, or very close to, that the military had. Now, in today's technologically advanced world, we have things like the atom bomb and tanks that the civilians can't have. So that kind of defeats the purpose to a degree, because if the populace wanted to rise up, they would be taken down very shortly. So it's not the same today. It's not the same. That world government would basically give us no place to go for freedom. That's pretty crazy, because you're putting a lot of trust that the people who we know have histories of exploiting others are going to do the right thing, that they're not going to exploit, the people. I don't buy it. Okay, this is a quote from David Icke. Oh, I'm sorry, Never Xane says, how's your day? So far so good. So far so good. Yeah, pretty busy. Some things I had to like move around my schedule. Nothing crazy. It's been fine. It's been fine. All right, David Icke, he says, the conspiracy to create a centralized global fascist state is orchestrated in the 5 sense world by a secret network known collectively as the Illuminati or Illuminated Ones. They manipulate through secret societies and groupings like the Freemasons, Knights of Malta, Knights Templar, and the Jesuits. These and others feed carefully chosen recruits into the Illuminati, and they are installed in positions of power throughout the world, infesting all colors, races, creeds, and countries. It is not that everyone in the secret societies is aware of the plot. The overwhelming majority are not. The Illuminati operate like a cancer to infiltrate and covertly control other organizations. Most Freemasons never progress higher than the bottom 3 levels of degree, the so-called blue degrees, and they don't realize what their organization is being used for, end quote. Oh, nice meeting you. Oh, thanks, Raphael. Guys, I'm not ending the stream. I'm just refilling my water bottle real quick. I'll be right back.